What's going on, everybody? This is Afro Think Tank. Breaking news. The Marines are on their way to Iran. Donald Trump and his neo-Nazi administration is doing what we call war creep. Is when you start off doing a small special military operation, right? And it slowly creeps into a full-scale war. As soldiers start to get injured and killed in this war, obviously egos get involved and reprisals are necessary, and that's how you get war creep. So every time Iran successfully defends itself, which it has the right to do, Iran has a right to defend itself from a terrorist administration, because currently right now the Donald Trump administration, because this is not an American Iranian war, this is a Donald Trump Israeli Iranian war, because Donald Trump, without permission from Congress, has started this war on behalf of him and Israel. And if you notice, Israel is not sending their soldiers to Iran. Israel is coercing America to send our soldiers to die in Iran for the benefit of Israel. This is where we've come, guys. This is where we've come with all of our politicians bought and sold by Israeli non-governmental organizations being legally able to lobby our congressmen and our senators, being legally able to infuse money into campaigns by calling it freedom of speech. Does that even make sense? Freedom of speech somehow makes it so you can give a candidate billions of dollars. How can the American public compete with corporations that have more money than the American public? We cannot. Citizens United. Until we get rid of Citizens United, things like this can continue to happen when we get a tyrannical government that's in charge. And before you say we can't do anything about it, yes, we can. Yes, we can. Just because a candidate gets billions of dollars from Jewish organizations that have nothing but Israel's interest at heart doesn't mean we have to listen to the propaganda that they use their money to spend. You understand, all of this money that these politicians get goes to commercial advertisement. It goes to flooding the airways with propaganda for one candidate or another. Now, as the end user of this propaganda, it's up to the American citizen to become politically literate. Because as I made in my other video, Americans are politically illiterate. And because we are politically illiterate, we are ripe and susceptible to the propaganda that's pumped into our ears, into our eyes by these Jewish organizations that legally bribe. Lobbying is legal bribery. The same thing we suppose that our government gets on other countries for doing. The same country we condemn other countries for doing, bribing their politicians, right? We do legally in America. It's called lobbying. You understand? That's why we need public financing of all campaigns. These are some of the issues when the election come up that we, intelligent, literate, politically literate political participants need to be demanding from our politicians. We need to, hey, what do you feel? How do you feel about Citizens United? 2, how do you feel about lobbying? 3, how much money have you gotten from Israel? You see, Jasmine Crockett lost her election in Texas because the other guy, even though he's a Democrat, guess how much money he gets from Israel? And when he does run, I'll be surprised if that smooth face, slick talking Texas Democrat actually wins the state race. You know why? Because they've always put up a smooth talking, slick faced, white face in Texas to try to take Texas. It's never worked because Texans are still Texans. Now, in this case, this extreme, extraordinary case, this may be an opportunity for Texas to turn blue. Maybe, right? Even though our choice is the smooth face, Israeli-sponsored white dude with the baby face, all right? Maybe because of how absolutely inept and this president's administration is, maybe possible. But it's going to be razor thin. Because keep in mind, Donald Trump was elected. Somebody had to go vote for him. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. Donald Trump is in fact who America is. So nobody can say Donald Trump does not represent a huge majority of mainly white people. Okay? So the whole world knows, and it cannot be thrown away, that Donald Trump is a manifestation of everything America truly is. Homelander, not Superman. America has always been Homelander, has never been Superman. America has always been Agent S.H.I.E.L.D., not Captain America. The bad Agent S.H.I.E.L.D. before he became good. All right? But anyway, the Marines are on their way. I don't know what they're going to do with these Marines. But see, the crisis is they didn't think that Iran would be able to block the Straits of Hormuz, right? But they're able to do it. America vastly underestimates other countries' abilities to at least fight back. America's always done that. And when I say America, I mean white people. White people who have had an overwhelming dominant military advantage for the last about 500, I'm going to say 500 years, have forgot that other countries have minds too. And they also, when given the opportunity, the slim opportunities, they develop and have the ability to at least put up a good fight. And Iranians have the ability to put up a good fight. Unfortunately, there are going to be some black people who are in the military, my brothers and sisters in arms, who will be hurt because they are forced to fight for this tyrannical government. They do not want to do it, but they have no choice, right? And just like there are people right now being forced to live under the threat of bombs being dropped upon them, they have no choice. Also, that white people, at the end of the day, can make money. Because you know who's making money right now? The military-industrial complex. They're making money. The oil companies are making money. You think that the oil companies, oil executives are taking hits? No, because they pass that down to the end consumer. So while they complain about oil prices, they're raking it in because they're making nothing but profit. The military-industrial complex, you know what that is? Those are manufacturing plants in America, okay? In America, that's building and producing the bombs, missiles, and drones in order to ship them overseas. They're making buku bucks. How else do you think the military-industrial complex can get an investment back on the billions of dollars they spend in research and development of these weapons? They have to sell them and make profit. And the only way to sell them and make profit is to start a war or conflict so they can sell their weapons. That's American making money. Rich white people who own the military-industrial complex, along with the oil execs, are making buku bucks. The only people that's having like issues is the middle people, the shippers, the ones who gotta take that oil through the straits, the sailors who are just maritime sailors, ain't got nothing to do with anybody's conflict. They have to risk their lives and risk being attacked by missiles and small arms fire in order to take some fuel or take some resources from point A to point B. That's not what they signed up for, but that's what's happening. We have mission creep. We have war creep happening now. The Marines. If one goddamn Marines boot sets foot in Iran, it's over. Because once one foot sets foot in Iran, we're going to have to put more to protect that one. And before you know it, we're in full-scale war. Thousands upon thousands of American youth are going to die for these old fuckers who won't send their sons, who won't send their children. So, I have a request. All MAGA and FBA foundational black Americans who are so patriotic, you go ahead and make sure you sign up. You go ahead and make sure you sign up and go over there and volunteer yourself, since you're so patriotic towards the American machine. Since you're so patriotic, MAGA, since you guys want a war so bad, you've been eking for it. You've been training. You went to the store and you bought all the guns. Well, here's your opportunity to use it. I'm sure there's some American corporation that will hire you as a clandestine contractor, and you can go over there and you can fight as a contractor. Get paid pretty goddamn good, too. You can go over there and do that. So go ahead and gather your weapons, go online, find the nearest arms contracting company, and go ahead and volunteer yourself. Since you're so patriotic. Since you're so badass. You go ahead and write and do it. Since y'all want to fight, well, go ahead and fight. Since I see a lot of you guys on YouTube acting like you know what you're talking about Iran is this, Iran is that, while sitting in the most terroristic country on the planet. Now, I'm not saying that the Ayatollah was good or that they treat their people well, but look how your country treats you. Look how your country treats the rest of the world. You would have to be deaf, dumb, and blind and not see who the terrorist is, who the bad guy in the movie is. America is the bad guy. America is the invader. America. Get that through your head. America right now is the bad guy. No excuses. We are, in fact, the bad guy. And this should also show you another thing. The United Nations, Europe, they have no power. This should be very clear to you. The United States can do whatever it wants because of the power it was able to develop, because it had 300 years of free slave labor. All of this goes back to the transatlantic slave trade. There's no way a country could ever accumulate this much power, this much military might, if it didn't have centuries of 100% profit with zero overhead for all of its corporations. No country on the planet could possibly get this rich without African slaves, African blood. Africans that were enslaved to generate the income for these corporations to get so massive that their power supersedes whole nations. And you notice, the former colonizers, the beginners, the starters, Britain, France, all of them, they have no power to stop America from doing anything, even though they condemn it. They have no power. No one on the planet has the power to stop us from being terrorists. And we use, as Americans, cognitive dissonance to pretend like we're the good guys and we're over here to nation build and to liberate people. How is killing a school full of little girls, how is that liberating? How is random bombs on random buildings killing random people at random times? How is that liberating to the people? And let me tell you something. For all those people in Iran who are taught about the things that happened back in the day to cause their elders to be so adversarial to the United States of America, all those people who heard the stories, who weren't radicalized, well, guess what? America is currently reminding them why their elders had such an issue with the United States of America. Now we are breeding, we are manufacturing the future enemies of America. But as an African American, us black people globally, we are reminding the Iranians that this is not our foreign policy. But I'm not naive, right, to know that in Iran, there is a Afro-Iranian population that also is discriminated against. And you Iranians, you're going to have to do something about that. Because the moment you guys manage to open up to the rest of the world, the African world will have to examine your treatment of your Afro-Iranians, and you will be dealt with accordingly. I guarantee you. So you might want to fix that. But overall, because this world is complicated, right? You don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. This world is complicated. Overall, African people and African Americans specifically, as Americans, this is not our foreign policy. And your enemy is our enemy. We have been terrorized and bombed in our communities the same way you have been terrorized and bombed in your communities. We have been dealing with the terrorism of this same white, evil, savage, barbarian demon in his makeshift homeland, colonized land, or his giant military base called the United States of America for 400 years. So we completely understand the terror that you guys are dealing with right now. Because we constantly deal with it to this day. So we understand, and this is not our foreign policy. This is white Europeans' foreign policy. Because they have an irrational disdain for you because of their Christian nationalism, because their extreme Christianity. Just like y'all got that extreme Islam in your country. Religion. These Abrahamic religions are weapons of mass destruction and have not contributed to the development of humanity. All it does is hold us back. Because if you look on your side, you see is your extreme Islam, and you're just fighting our extreme Christianity. Anywhere religion goes, death follows. That is the truth. There's never been peace peace has never been manifested out of neither one of these Abrahamic religions since their inception. It's only been a justification for war and slavery and death. That's it. So we all have to stand by because it's looking like Donald Trump is creeping this war. So when these midterms come up, there should be no reason why any Republican should get elected, to be honest. But we know the true heart of a great deal of Americans. They are all for this. There are Iranians in Iran that's kind of for this too, and they're willing to sacrifice their own people in order to get rid of this Islamic regime. But must understand, America has never successfully nation built. Look at Iraq. As soon as we cut the head off a snake, another head grows. And that's just the way it is. You can't bomb your way to civility. No matter how overwhelmingly dominant your military might is, you need more than military might to win a war. America has, for the most part, never really lost a physical battle, but we've lost the diplomatic battle. We've lost the hearts and minds of those people we say we mean to liberate. We lost the hearts and minds of those people that mean to back us when we liberate. The idea of what we are doing, we have lost. So no matter how powerful our military is, we're still weak when it comes to the influence of the world, because we only know how to answer yes or no with a bomb or a missile. We don't know how to do anything else, because the people who control America, the culture that controls America, the culture that's currently in charge are evil, savage, barbarian Neanderthals with technology. They are not advanced. They just have advanced technology, but they are in fact savage barbarians. And savage barbarians are going to do what savage barbarians are going to do. So it's up to us humans to take charge in every institution at which we have the ability to take charge and take the power away from these savage barbarians, because they have proved that they do not deserve to be in power. Anybody that falls in the category of a savage barbarian Neanderthal does not deserve to be in power anywhere, because history has shown they don't know what to do with it. So you take that and you go run off with that, which you will. But that is the truth. Anyway, you guys tell me what you think in the comment sections. Afro Think Tank, learn something, teach something. I'm out.
Additional forces to the Middle East as the war with Iran enters its third week. Thousands of US Marines are expected to be sent, though it's not yet clear how they would be deployed. President Trump said today that the Islamic Republic will be hit very hard over the next week. Let's go straight to Washington and our State Department correspondent Tom Bateman. What more do we know about these deployments?
Sophie, this is a deployment of the USS Tripoli, which is an amphibious assault ship, alongside up to 5,000 troops, about half of which it is thought will be US Marines. Now, this is a task force that is trained in things like carrying out amphibious landings, securing maritime chokeholds. So exactly the kind of situation that the global shipping industry is currently facing in the Strait of Hormuz. Now, this is not a public official announcement by the Trump administration, but is being briefed by US officials tonight. This task force is currently in Japan. It would take them about 2 weeks to reach the Middle East. At the same time, US bombing raids have continued into Iran all day. I was in a briefing earlier with Pete Hegseth, the Defense Secretary, saying this would be the highest number of strikes today, and US Central Command releasing pictures of nighttime bombing raids by B-2 stealth bombers. At the same time, President Trump is continuing to threaten escalation to the Iranian regime. Meanwhile, the message for Americans back at home has been very much about him dictating the course of this conflict. He was asked today, when would it be over? And he said, soon. He said, this will end when he feels it in his bones.
Tom Bateman, thank you. Well, the US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said the US and Israel have so far hit 15,000 targets since the war began 2 weeks ago tomorrow. The United States is now offering a $10 million reward for anyone with information about the whereabouts of Iran's leaders. America claims that Iran's new supreme leader is in hiding, wounded and likely disfigured after the initial strikes that killed his father and other members of his family. The US says Iran's Air Force, Air Defense and Navy have been completely destroyed. And you can see here the extent of the strikes by the US and Israel. Our diplomatic correspondent Caroline Hawley has our story now.
From an embattled Iranian regime today, a show of defiance. Loyalists came out in large numbers, just as their new supreme leader had asked. And many carried his image, though Mujtaba Khamenei himself has still not been seen. In Washington, the Secretary of Defense said the US and Israel had now hit 15,000 targets around Iran, that its military had been decimated.
Iran's leadership is in no better shape. Desperate and hiding, they've gone underground, cowering. That's what rats do. We know the new so-called not-so-supreme leader is wounded and likely disfigured.
But state-run TV showed Iran's president Masoud Pezeshkian out on the streets today, even looking relaxed. And another very powerful figure in the regime who had a message for Donald Trump.
The problem with Trump is that he's not intelligent enough to understand that Iranians are a mature and strong and determined nation. The more pressure he exerts, the stronger our nation's willpower will become.
This is the Al-Quds rally held every year to oppose Israel. Suddenly, on the left of this image, an explosion nearby. Another airstrike took place as state-run TV was interviewing Iran's hardline head of the judiciary. People are not afraid of these attacks, he says. We will not back down in any way. But many Iranians are very afraid as the human cost of this war and the humanitarian consequences grow. This was footage released by the Iranian Red Crescent today.
It's a residential neighborhood with a narrow alley. Rescuers are working to find anyone still alive as quickly as possible.
The Red Crescent says nearly 20,000 homes have now been damaged, along with businesses, schools, and 16 of its own facilities. Iranians are continuing to flee. More than 3 million of them have left their homes so far, according to the UN. At Turkey's border with Iran, one man said bombs were raining down on his homeland. Near the central city of Isfahan, one glimpse into the intensity of the bombardment. The man filming is clearly happy to see regime targets hit. Duck down, someone says, as airstrike follows airstrike. And Donald Trump says Iran will continue to be hit very hard. Caroline Hawley, BBC News.
Well, overnight, British Typhoon jets flew air defence operations over Bahrain for the first time, and multiple drones were also shot down by a British counter-drone unit in the region. The Gulf has borne the brunt of attacks from Iran. RAF Typhoon and F-35 jets are now flying defensive sorties over many of the Gulf states to protect British interests and people. In Oman, state media said 2 people died after security forces intercepted a drone near an industrial area. And in the United Arab Emirates, a building in Dubai was damaged in the financial district after debris hit a building after a drone was shot down. And tonight, police in the capital, Abu Dhabi, said 45 people have been arrested for filming and spreading misinformation on the attacks. Well, the impact of the war on oil supplies has seen petrol prices in the UK hit their highest level for 18 months, and diesel is at its highest since November 2023, according to the motoring organisation, the RAC. Today, the Chancellor met representatives from the Petrol Retailers Association who accused the government of using inflammatory language about profiteering from the crisis. They said petrol retailers were keeping prices competitive and, in some cases, even losing money. Here's our economics editor, Faisal Islam.
The effective closure of the Straits of Hormuz in recent days has been unprecedented. The Iran conflict playing out in Gulf waters, sending a wave of inflation across the world. Including today, up Downing Street, with petrol bosses summoned to number 11 after the Energy Secretary Ed Miliband told the BBC action would be taken against price gouging and rip-offs.
We're doing all we can to provide fuel at competitive prices for our customers.
Are you taking advantage of people, though?
No, we're not.
His Petrol Retailers Association had threatened to boycott the meeting after saying ministerial language had led to abuse of staff at the pumps. The Chancellor told bosses they had to keep prices down. Here's what's actually happened to petrol prices. In under 2 weeks of this conflict, they are up about 8 pence per litre to an 18-month high. And diesel, well, that's up even more, nearly 17p per litre in that 2-week period. And that, in turn, is driven by these trends in the crude oil price, which has been up and then volatile hour by hour, but settling around $100 a barrel, higher than it was before the conflict. And that's despite the emergency release of hundreds of millions of barrels of stockpiled oil around there. And this in turn is what's driving the oil price, as we've shown the tanker traffic in the Gulf at the Strait of Hormuz. That's a choke point, and it's coming to a standstill compared to, say, the same day last year. Nothing is officially getting through. Now, hundreds of millions of barrels of oil is stuck in the Gulf, either on tankers, in storage, or simply left in the ground. And today we've been hearing from the crew of a tanker stuck here in the Gulf.
Every day on the ship, I can see missile launches and hear explosions, making me feel like I'm in danger.
Here is the Maritime reality, radio messages from the Iranian Revolutionary Guard.
Attention all ship. Every navigating from the Strait of Hormuz is banned from now on.
The US Defence Secretary adamant that these key tankers should sail but could not guarantee US naval escorts.
And as the world is seeing, they are exercising sheer desperation in the Straits of Hormuz. It's something we're dealing with, we have been dealing with it, and don't need to worry about it.
The Gulf energy shock, about to enter its third week, now prompting a furious debate about how to ensure more secure and cheaper British energy supplies into the future. Faisal Islam, BBC News.
Well, the rapidly rising oil prices have prompted the United States to say it will loosen sanctions on other countries buying Russian oil and petroleum that's already loaded on ships at sea. The Kremlin welcomed the move, but Ukraine's President Zelensky warned that easing sanctions on Russia wouldn't help bring peace in Ukraine and said it would give Russia more money for war. Our diplomatic correspondent Paul Adams reports.
The queue of stationary tankers grows, the impact of 2 weeks of war rippling out across the global economy. Washington says allowing countries to buy Russian oil may help. It says the lifting of sanctions will promote stability in global markets and won't significantly benefit Russia. Others beg to differ.
Regarding sanctions, lifting them will lead to the strengthening of Russia's position. They earn money and buy weapons with them, which they fly against us.
His host and ally sought to reassure him.
Russia may believe that the war in Iran will offer it some respite, and it is mistaken. At the G7 meeting that I shared 2 days ago, we reaffirmed that rising oil prices must in no way lead us to reconsider our sanctions policy toward Russia.
Russia is already benefiting from the war to the tune of around $150 million a day, thanks to rising oil prices. Estimates vary hugely, but Volodymyr Zelensky says Russia's monthly oil exports could be boosted by around $10 billion. Britain has no plans to ease sanctions. Yesterday, the Defence Secretary John Healey highlighted the relationship between Iran and Russia. Putin's hidden hand, he said, was behind some of Iran's military methods and capabilities. Donald Trump seems aware, but not unduly concerned.
You think Putin is helping him?
I think he might be helping him a little bit, yeah, I guess. And he probably thinks we're helping Ukraine, right?
For Mr. Trump, it's all about the price of petrol at home, rising already in a year when voters will judge his party's handling of the economy. Washington says the sanctions waiver will only last 30 days, but as the war in the Gulf rages on, who can be really sure? Paul Adams, BBC News.
Well, let's go to Moscow now. Our Russia editor Steve Rosenberg is there. What has been the reaction to these changes?
Well, the Russians are very pleased about this, and you can understand why. Because since Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine 4 years ago, thousands and thousands of international sanctions have been imposed on Moscow. So the easing of sanctions on Russian oil, even if that is limited and temporary, as the Americans say, this is welcome news to Russia. It sets a precedent that sanctions can be reversed. And I think the Russians see an opportunity here to push further, to push for longer-term sanctions relief. How successful they'll be, that isn't clear. But there's another piece of good news right now for Vladimir Putin, and that is the high price of oil. That is generating much-needed revenue, additional revenue for Russia, at a time when the Russian economy is under sustained pressure. So more money means more resources and a larger war chest as Russia continues its war on Ukraine.
Steve Rosenberg in Moscow, thank you. The Prime Minister says almost 70,000 British nationals have returned to the UK from the Middle East since war broke out almost a fortnight ago, but many others are still stuck. Dozens of people have been in touch with us through BBC Your Voice, saying they've been stranded in countries around the world since their flights, which had connections in Dubai, Abu Dhabi or Qatar, were abruptly cancelled. And many are having to foot the bill themselves. Here's our business correspondent, Mark Ashton.
A 2-week tour of Sri Lanka has turned into nearly a month now for Debbie and Arden, holed up with 20 other Brits in a budget hotel, resorting to washing their clothes by hand as their tour operator tries to get them home.
We've all got things to go back to. We both volunteer. There are people in the group. There's one gentleman that works, so he's trying to work from here. There's people who've got hospital appointments. There's not just us. There's so many other people.
There's thousands of us out there.
There's a lot of people stuck and just no way to get back.
They've been left thousands of pounds out of pocket, as have Henry and Aniko, who also contacted BBC Your Voice. They were at a friend's wedding in India when the conflict started. With their flight cancelled and baby Esther at home with her grandparents, it was a desperate scramble to get back.
We spent about 4 days on Skyscanner, I think, and had many times that we thought we found something. And you click on it, start filling out your details, and in that process it would just be, sorry, this is all sold out, doesn't exist anymore.
And then the cost was just absurd, and we were really scared to book it, not knowing whether we were going to get this money back. We've been saving this money for years to try and put towards a house, and now we spent £6,500 just to get home.
So what is the advice if you do find yourself stranded abroad?
Make sure that you are registered with the Foreign Office. If you are spending any of your own money in resort, in destination, please make sure you keep hold of your receipts. Also, really important, stay in contact with your airline or your travel agent, depends on how you've booked. And if you have a return flight, do not cancel that flight because it will limit your rights that you are entitled to.
And what if you have a trip booked in the coming weeks?
If you've booked a package deal with a UK or EU regulated firm and they cancel, you're entitled to be rebooked on the same holiday, another holiday of the same value, or you're entitled to a full refund. That's also the case if the Foreign Office deems it unsafe to travel to your destination. But do follow that official advice. If they think it's safe and you cancel anyway, you won't necessarily get your money back. And do check your insurance. I'm afraid many policies do have exclusions for things like war, but you might be able to get some money back for things like emergency medical expenses.
This shows the number of flights across the Middle East last year and today. A big gap remains as the restricted airspace continues to impact thousands of trips. Mark Ashton, BBC News.
Meanwhile, next month's Formula One Grand Prix in Bahrain and then Saudi Arabia looks set to be cancelled because of the war. Drivers were today taking part in qualifying for the Grand Prix in Shanghai this weekend. A formal announcement is expected then. Bahrain was due to start on April the 10th with Jeddah the following weekend. The cancellations could cost Formula One £100 million. In neighbouring Iraq, Iranian Kurdish opposition groups say their fighters are prepared to cross back into Iran and join the war. Many Iranian Kurds who have been in exile for decades have loved ones who were killed by the Islamic Republic. The fighters want America to give them a no-fly zone so they can return. Our senior international correspondent Ola Girin has sent this report from one of their mountain bases in northern Iraq.
Beyond these mountains, across the border, war is raging inside Iran. Here in northern Iraq, we're heading to meet those hoping to join in. Iranian Kurdish fighters, some in exile here for decades. Eager to return to their homeland with the weapons they have to hand. Woman, life, freedom. The slogan of the protest movement brutally crushed in Iran. These Kurdish fighters are called Peshmerga, meaning those who face death. Donald Trump has blown hot, then cold, on their guns coming into the fight.
Very difficult to come up.
Yeah. Hello, hi.
Hello, hi.
Orla from BBC.
My name is Shaho. Nice to meet you.
Shaho Bluri hopes to return home soon to honour all the dead. One of your brothers was hung.
Yeah, hung. Many of our family be one by one killed and hanging.
How many members of your extended family have been killed by the regime?
I think directly 18.
18?
18.
If you are able to go home, what is the first thing that you want to do?
I will go back to my mother's grave and put flower and all my family, visit them and put flower and tell them I remember you always. I cry for you.
The fighters here now joining forces with other Kurdish Iranian groups, but in need of US support. Do you think there's a danger that President Trump could suddenly say, I'm finished with this war now, it's over?
Personally, I don't trust Trump. I think he may decide to stop the war. No one can predict what Trump will do.
10 minutes ago, he attacked us with a...
Suddenly, the commander, Amjad Panahi, gets news of a strike on one of their bases, sparking fears of an attack at our location. Spread out, he warns. Now, man.
Spread out. Okay. There's a cave up there, guys, if we need to.
Okay, let's move, man. We've just been asked to disperse, to spread out a bit. They're worried about too many people being in the same place and being a bigger target. They've had some intelligence that there may be a drone strike. These camps are being hit very regularly. So the Peshmerga watch the skies and urge us to leave. They remain in position, still on the sidelines for now. Orla Guerin, BBC News, Northern Iraq.
Free Sudan! Boycott diamonds and gold! Free Sudan! Boycott diamonds and gold! We most definitely cannot forget about the people of Sudan!
Thanks for watching Afro Think Tank. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And follow me on Substack and Patreon for more content. Remember, it's Pan-Africanism or nothing.